Hi, it's Lee from ColoringQueen.net, and I want to show you my Spectrum Noir ColourBlend pencils. So there's 5 tins, and in each tin there's 24 pencils, making 120 in the complete range. Now these are the artist quality pencils, so they're at the higher end. Now these are the artist quality pencils, so they're at the higher end. This is the Colorista range at the lower price spectrum. So 120 in this range and 48 in the Colorista range. So these ones all work tonally together under the Spectrum Noir system, where they like to group their colours by light, mid and dark tones. The pencil sets come with a lighter colour, a mid-tone and a darker tone, so that you can produce proper blending for anything. You got your 3 blues, your 3 greens, your pinks, your 3 of your oranges, and so they all come within that system, so that you always have a light, a darker tone and a mid-tone. So that's the way all of their pencils and their markers work. They call it the Spectrum Noir colouring system, and they're designed to work with the markers that they sell as well as the pencils. So these come pre-sharpened, and you can already see just from the overview there that these are at a higher end. They've got a lovely crimson hardwood barrel. You can't see the core, but you can see the tip has been coloured to match the pigment. As always, these aren't a perfect match. There's a gold band around there, and the company name is in gold as well. And we've got little names, so linen, and they're all named, so it makes it easier when you're doing your colour swatch. So just up against the Faber-Castell and the Prismacolors. So you can see they're pretty similar to Faber-Castell in design, meaning that they've got a gold band and a tip there, and pretty similar in length as well. Now these are like Prismacolors, they're wax-based rather than oil-based like the Faber-Castell. In the range of 120 pencils, there's actually no blender pen, but you can buy that separately in a blending kit if you wanted to. But because they're wax-based, you could use it with like your Prismacolor blender or your Caran d'Ache or any other blender that you might have with another set of pens. So they're all different names as well. So this is the Essentials. And the colour palette is down below here on the tin, but it's also on the back as well. And they come packed with this little foam layer over it. It does help protect it. Now you will notice that this little pencil is really a lot shorter than the others, and the reason for that is these pencils are really soft. They are super soft, and I had a little bit of mishap sharpening it because I didn't realise quite how soft it was when I was using it. So they are really, really soft. So they're great for people that have a hand injury or arthritis, because these are super soft. The other thing I noticed when I was using them is that you can do the finest layer where you hardly even touch the paper with the pencil and get a lot of colour out of it, which really surprised me that you could just gloss over the paper, so just glance at it like really wispy layer and actually get so much colour from it. One of the little problems with this set, and they're beautiful, they're lovely and soft, and I really love them, and I'm glad that I've bought them because I do have a hand injury. But one problem is that you can't buy the pencils open stock. So if you wear one down, you will have to get a tin of 24 to replace that pencil. Now it's going to be a while until I wear one down. When that happens, hopefully I'll need to replace the whole tin anyway. So there's some gorgeous colours in here. Really stunning, really nice array, and incredibly soft. Now with the shipping process, I did lose the tip on one pencil, but that's pretty good considering that they were shipped to Australia, so that was pretty fine. So just show you my colour swatch that I did with these pencils. So we've got the primaries over there and the shades and tones. The essentials up the top and the florals. That's just a really rough colour swatch. And then we've got the naturals. So 5 tins in all. Now I did a picture with the pencils, and that was from a book that Spectrum Noir sent me. They didn't send me those pencils, by the way. I bought those myself a couple of months ago. And the little book has got 4 highlights, so it might be reflecting a little bit in the sun. But this is it. I haven't used any sort of blending solution on it at all. Did all of the butterflies, etc. with the pencils. But because they're so soft, they're not good for little itty bitty details, like things like those little tiny leaves and whatnot, because they're really so soft it's hard to get them into a point to get those little areas. So I used these little fine liners from Spectrum Noir to do the pink outlines and the little green leaves, because these are super fine. So we'll just blend up the butterflies, and I'll show you different ways that you can blend those together. So the first way is by just using a blending stump. Now with the blending stump, you do need to make sure that it's clean of all pigment. So just give it a rub with either a piece of sandpaper. If it's got a lot of damage, run it through a pencil sharpener if you've got an old one. Or what I'm using, which is a card nail file, an emery board, just to get any pigment off it from other colouring. So because they're so soft, they'll blend just with this stump. So we just go around it, and I'll just softly move the colour just to smooth out any lines. Now you could use a wax-based blender like a Prismacolor on there if you want, but honestly they're so soft that they'll blend just with the blending stump on there. So if you feel that you're not getting the smooth finish that you want, then you can use some Gamsol or baby oil. This is just Gamsol that I've purchased from the art shop. It's not the Spectrum Noir Gamsol. And just dip your stump into the Gamsol. You don't want too much because it'll make a film. And what that basically does is it just basically melts the wax to give it that lovely little soft finish that you might be looking for. And of course the more layers that you do will help it blend out as well. And you can also blend out with a white pencil if you want, but be careful not to actually tint the colour with the white if that's not the look that you were looking for. Now the other way that you can blend is my preferred way, which is by using the Spectrum Noir blender pen. Now this is just a colourless fluid. You can buy refills of it. You can buy this for the Illustrator set of markers that they have, or their original colouring system, which is what this one's from. At one end it's got a chisel tip, so it's great for larger spaces, and at the other end it's got a finer tip, which is also good for small spaces. So basically what it does is it just smooths everything out. Lovely and so simple. It's much preferred for me. It's my favourite way of blending. I've got a number of these blender pens. And you can use these, by the way, with any wax-based pencil. So I use them with my Prismacolors. I use them with my Tombow Rogertons. And it just smooths it out with absolutely no effort at all from me, and just very lightly. Plus these are refillable, so you just buy the blender fluid and take the nib off and refill it. And you can also get replacement nibs on there, so you can just replace those nibs. So that's the blender fluid with the pencils. So this heart's looking a bit rough. I'll give it a little bit of blend. There we go. And just make sure that you, after you change colours, so after I go from green to pink, make sure you clean off the nib, just rolling it around on a piece of paper until all of the pigment colour is gone from there. Give it a scribble out, just make sure it's all gone. So if I want to blend up, say, this purple, see how easily that's just moving, just smoothing it over. The great thing about these little coloured pads, by the way, the foil ones that I'm using that Spectrum Noir sent me, is that you don't have to be precious at all. You can colour over that foil and it resists, so you can just colour the whole lot, not like individual little bits. So it's great for people that might have a minor visual impairment, because the foil bit just resists and it won't take the colour, so the pencil sort of basically just falls off it. So see how much smoother that is just by going over with the blender pen. We'll go over like this. So we can do this because this has got those little foil in betweens. We don't need to be precious about it. We can just go straight over and smooth out the little butterfly wings. And I should have cleaned off my nib, but I forgot. But it doesn't really matter because it's all sort of pinks and purples anyway. So if it picked up a bit of the purple colour, it'll look fine anyway. And see how easily that just smooths it out. These blender pens are just such a godsend. And especially if you do have wrist problems or whatnot, because you don't need to build up as many layers if you can smooth them out as easily as what I'm doing here. And see, I'm not being precious about getting in between the lines, just going straight over that foil because I know it's going to resist. Now obviously if it was just line art and no foil resistance there, I would try and stay between the lines, because otherwise I would pick up colour and carry it to the next spot. But I know these little foil things form like a little barrier, making it super quick and easy to blend out this entire picture. I could also make life easier by just using the chisel tip, because it's great for larger spaces. So we've got a large space with the same colour here, so I can just go straight over it. I know that foil is going to resist, so straight over. For the smaller, finer bits, I can just turn it on its side like that. And there we are, blended and cleaned. So very, very simple, but they are so incredibly soft. For those small areas, you will need like a fine liner or something because they're just so soft. They're not going to sharpen to that point, or unless it's just me, but I found that they were very soft. By the same token, I live in Sydney, so it's quite warm here. You know, maybe I need to put my pencils in the fridge. And see how quickly and easily that is. Now these are only a couple of dollars, and really I couldn't live without my blender pens. And again, I'm being lazy and not cleaning it off in between changing colours, just because I'm demonstrating. And also it's sort of like a dreamy butterfly anyway. So there we go. Very easy to smooth out with that blender pen and really smooth out those colours. Now if you did more layers, of course it would smooth out naturally on its own, or if you used white to blend it as well. So we've blended it up, so let's give these pencils a bit of a test and see how well they go sharpening and erasing. So I get that colour swatch out, and from the tin that I've got closest to me, it's the florals. So that's the colour swatch for the florals. So we'll just grab one of these. And I really like that they're named, which is great. So we'll go for a darker colour, which is, I've got cranberry here. Give the cranberry one a whirl. They're very, very soft. This colour swatch was just done on cheap copy paper, nothing fancy. Spectrum Noir do have a FAQ on their site with the recommended paper that you should use with their products. And I will tell you from experience that following the manufacturer's instructions on what paper works best with their products is usually a good idea. But this is just cheap copy paper, which most of us have on hand. See, I haven't had to sharpen the point, so we'll do that now. I'll test it out with my little Stedler. And you might wonder why I haven't emptied my pencil sharpener jar, and that's because I'm actually collecting my pencil shavings. I know that's a weird thing to do, but I figure I can make use of them somehow. Now, just give it a turn in my Stedler. We've got one long shave off. It doesn't have the point on it that I would like. I'd like a longer, finer point. So, as I said, I know these are incredibly soft because I did break one the other night, so I'm going to try it in my T-Gal. And it's not often that I change pencil sharpeners. Now this is on setting 5. And we've got a better point there. Setting 4, getting there. And setting 3 has given me the point that I was looking for. So for once I'm not going to recommend my Stedler, I'm going to recommend the T-Gal for these pencils, only because they're so soft and they don't seem to work as well in the Stedler. Because they're wax-based, just make sure that when you do sharpen your pencils, make sure that you run a lead pencil through your pencil sharpener every now and again to remove that waxy build-up, or otherwise your pencils will not sharpen as well as you would hope. So now that we've got that sharper point on there, we can see that it's putting down colour a lot better. So let's try and rub some of it out. So I've got a selection of erasers here. So my Faber-Castell with the red end up. And that's taking it away pretty easily. I don't want to overdo the paper because it jiggles my camera around. We'll try it blue end up. And that's in danger of actually damaging the paper. We'll try the Lyra plastic eraser. Not really as effective. And my favourite, the Tombow Mono eraser. Now this is a sand eraser, so with copy paper, you know, you are at risk of going right through the paper because it's a machine, this eraser. And naturally my Tombow wins the race, but you do have to be gentle or otherwise you'll risk tearing the paper with it because it's quite a brute. So the Faber-Castell might be a softer giant on cheap copy paper. Although it's not completely removing all the colour, it is taking it down enough that the sand eraser could probably get the rest off, but as I said, we might take the paper with it because it is a brute. Alright, so there we go. We've tested it with a few erasers, we've given it a sharpen, and we've blended it up on our picture. So I hope you enjoyed this review of the Coloursoft pencils. Until next time, happy colouring.